Without further ado, our next speaker is a full-stack developer who decided to open her editor to the world. Petya Petkova is the founder of DevBlondie, leads a team of e-design, and has more than 12 years of experience in web development and teaching. She will try to help us, and you, see through the eyes of a developer, understand what really happens after the handoff, and show how a bit of dev knowledge and even some AI tools can make collaboration smoother and products better. Petya, welcome to the stage. It's all yours.
Thank you, George, and thanks for having me today. Okay, so you probably wonder what a developer is doing on the stage today with you, right? In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to do my best to convince you that my presence here feels perfectly natural. So, when I first started teaching my workshops on front-end development for beginners, I was surprised to find out that more than the half of the attendees were actually, well, UX, UI designers. Some of those people are here today, by the way. At first, I didn't pay that much attention to that fact. I thought it was by a coincidence or probably that those people were looking to switch gears in their careers. But when the same trend happened on the second and the third editions, I knew I had stumbled onto something. And it made me wonder, why? So I started digging into my feedback surveys, and the answer was right there. Those people were looking for the answer of one exact question. And that question was how to communicate better with their developer teammates. And this is why I am here today on UX Sofia 15th anniversary stage to share this experience with you and to give you some practical tips when it comes to communication. Now, as much as I want to, I won't be able to turn you into front-end developers for only 20 minutes. But as I mentioned, sorry for my voice, by the way, I'm a little bit sick. In the next 20 minutes, still, I will give you some practical tips you can start applying from Monday. Let's quickly look at what you get. I'm going to show you some real-life examples on how your designs translate into code using nothing but pure HTML and CSS. You're going to walk out this room feeling, I hope, a bit more confident when it comes to handoff. And, probably most importantly, you'll be able to communicate better with your dev team. Now, I know you're pretty good in solving problems. And as in every fairy tale, in order to have a hero and a happy ending, we first need what? A problem. Well, good news is that today I came not with one, but with several major problems we often face while working together, but not really together. Let's look at the following screen for just a few seconds. Has anyone played the game Find the Differences before? Okay. Well, it seems to me that there is a lot of room for interpretation here, right? Starting from inconsistent colors, fonts, spacing, missing interaction states, and my favorite, no responsive variations. I'm going to bring it back just for a second. And I'm going to focus on each one of those mini problems individually. Sorry. So, it's not hard to notice that the shades of blue are different. Maybe it might be a design decision, but still. You may also notice that font size for both headings is different. Not to mention that the sign in and sign up buttons are on different positions. Is that on purpose, or also the background color, by the way, of the buttons is also different. The next mini problem we have here are the missing interaction states. Well, It often happens that we developers don't have clear specification of states like hover, focus, enabled, disabled, you name it. And it's not that bad. We can do it as well, but it leaves lots of room of interpretation, as I said earlier, and it brings lots of guesswork too, which leads to what? Inconsistencies. Probably the designer won't be happy to see how their design interacts with the user at the end of the process, development process. One of my favorites, well, I've been in the industry for long enough to remember the times when we used to work with like 3 to 5 different resolutions. Nowadays, things are different. We now have flip phones, 4K TVs, or 8K, I don't know, do we have? We have smartwatches, you name it. So if fluidity and responsiveness are not put on the table since the very beginning of the project, later on it might cause lots of headaches for you and the developers. Next example I have prepared for you is one that speaks for itself. It's very creative. Do we have any creative developers here? Designers, sorry, among us? Oh, we have one here, okay. So, imagine the following situation. You've been working on this exciting design countless hours. You precised every detail in the hero section, and you literally put your heart into this self-explanatory animation that happens when the user scrolls throughout the page. It looks fantastic, isn't it? You're ready, you send this to the developers, and the problem is here. Why? Well, because that complex velocity-driven or scroll-driven animation was never discussed with the dev team. And to make it work, we, or the developers, would have to use WebGL or 3JS. Both are heavy and complex JavaScript libraries. It is not a problem, but still, we'll have like 2 different options here. Option 1, to redo the whole design, or in other words, to simplify it, and I'm sure you won't be happy with this. Second option is to bring new developers to the project or to extend the development phase. Nobody's going to be happy, right? And the third example I have here is this pretty straightforward screen of category page or shopping list. At first, there's nothing that complex, but as a developer, I will immediately put at least 5 different questions regarding this design. And let me start with, oops, I think the order of the slides is a bit, all right. Let me start with the filtering logic. What will happen if I click featured and bestseller? Are they supposed to work together? Another thing is how we are going to deliver the search results. Are we going to use dynamically reloading of the page using Ajax? Or probably we'll open up a new page, which is quite old school, I know, but still. Another question to ask is, and this one is tricky for the backend developers, are those 2 filters related with each other? What would happen if I click featured and let's say category 1? And last but not least, what would happen if there are no results? Are we going to show some related products to this search criteria, or probably a text message leading the user to the home page? Or what are the ways to clear the whole filter here and to start from the beginning? You see, lots of questions we have here that if you're not like present the project to the developer from the beginning, later on might bring to inconsistencies or delayed deadlines. I'm pretty sure you faced one of those in your careers too. But enough with the problems. It's time to look at what and actually how modern technologies solve these problems. So before we start, I want to ask you, do we have any other developers here among us today? Any developers? Okay, great. So you probably remember the times when we used to receive like 359 megabytes Photoshop file that we are supposed to turn into a web page, right? Getting the machine ready, starting with extracting different images, fonts, and so on and so on. And designers, I can only imagine what it was like to work on heavy, complex projects, not to mention if you were supposed to work with other colleagues. See, modern tools helps us bridge this exact gap between design and development. Tools like Figma helps us solve probably the most time-consuming problem when it comes to development, and that is consistency. Thanks to design tokens, both designers and developers work with the exact same values, and there is no room for mistakes here. It's the end of the endless email inbox for meetings or calls or everything in order to make everyone in sync with the project, because now we work with comments, annotations, status updates right inside the file. And what was it? If a picture is worth 1,000 words, imagine what a prototype is worth. It's the best way to show us, the developers, what we are supposed to deliver at the end of the process, even before we touch any piece of code yet. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but it turns out, or it seems to me, that we kind of already speak the same language. I'm going to show you some examples or evidence on how this statement is true, at least in my opinion. Well, I'm pretty sure you spent a lot of time defining all the variables you're going to use throughout the project, like colors, fonts, you name it. Truth is, we do the exact same thing. We also call it variables. And by the way, it's my favorite part of the project because it's so exciting to put everything together, like colors, fonts, spacing, which later on will bring the design to life. I was very excited back in, what was it, correct me if I'm wrong, 2019, when Figma introduced their auto layout. Now you may wonder why on earth a developer would be excited about the announcement of designing software tool feature. Well, it's because auto layout in Figma translates directly into Flexbox in CSS. And if you pay attention, you'll see on the right-hand side that even the property names we have are matching the ones you have in Figma, like align items, justify content, etc. One step towards the bridging the gap between design and development is Figma's grid. Even though it's introduced like a few months ago, I think it was at the beginning of this year. Grid helps us translate the design directly into rows and columns. Again, if you pay attention, you'll see, using CSS grid. We have display grid, grid template columns, grid template rows, gap or the spacing between the individual items. And to wrap up this series of examples of how we translate your designs into code, I want to show you this simple header with what we have here, a logo and a simple navigational menu, right? Nothing that complex. If we look at its HTML, we'll find out that all the elements are nested inside the header tag. And by the way, HTML, you probably know this, but HTML is semantic, meaning that its tags are human readable. You get it, header it's going to be on the top of the page, nav is going to hold the navigational menu, and so on and so on. So what we have here, when it comes to styles, you guessed it, if you use auto layout, we use display flex. And we have all the elements aligned in the center, the content starting from the beginning, and 10 pixels of gap. And by the way, I'm going to bring the previous slide. Isn't that the way you nest your layers in Figma? I think it's the same. Yes? Okay. So you see, where I'm going with this is that the lines between design and development are very blurrier now. You can scan the song, by the way, for later. Back in the days when I started my career, it was long ago, I had a favorite quote saying, think like a designer, code like a developer. It was on my LinkedIn profile for like 6 years, I think. I changed it recently, and I changed it because now, with the modern technologies and the evolution of tools, which change not only the software itself, but the way designers think, I think it would be more accurate to say, think like a developer, code like a designer. So, a natural question might be spinning inside your heads for a while, and that would be, are designers becoming developers too? Well, the answer from my point of view is no. But you're getting more and more enmeshed with us, the developers, and now you have more ways than ever to experiment. Again, the line between design and development is so thin that it's almost invisible. In the age of AI, you know, you can not only experiment, but even try to bring to life your own designs or doing the so-called vibe coding. Has anyone tested it yet? All right. Okay. So you won't be surprised with the next slide, which is the modern technologies using AI. Lovable, Cursor, Microsoft Copilot, Bolt, you name it. I even prepared a short example for you where I'm prompting Cursor to create a short HTML page, very simple CSS or styling rules we have here for the header, hero section, and yeah. So, which might lead to another question, by the way, are we developers threatened by the AI? But I believe this is a topic for another occasion. I want to make a point here, and that is, we're all makers. I mean, I might be specializing in front-end development, you might be specializing in UX, UI design, or database development, backend, you name it. But the idea here is to know a little bit more of your colleagues' work, be more empathetic to those people, and communicate better with them, with the end goal being better at your work and delivering results that are satisfying. So I was very short, I know, but I want to leave you with one question here, and that will be, do you think you can talk to your dev team a bit easier now? Yes? Yes? Okay, so thank you.